Welcome, everyone, to the L7C Podcast Wrestling Edition. Today, we have our wrestling expert, Jacob Mason, with us today. How are you doing today, sir?
I'm fantastic, buddy. How are you?
I am doing great, especially since we're going to be talking some wrestling. We have a lot to talk about, a lot to catch you guys up on what's been happening in wrestling in the past couple of weeks. We're even going to be talking about the NXT takeover that recently happened earlier in the month. We're going to be talking about Halloween Havoc, the WWE Draft, Retribution, the house show implications, New World Japan G1, Women's PWI Top 100, and it's a podcast about wrestling. So, I always have to have a section dedicated to Lana, and there's a section dedicated to Lana. But let's start off with what happened at NXT TakeOver. The three big matches were Finn Balor versus Kyle O'Reilly, Io Shirai versus, why am I blanking on her? Candice LeRae. And Damian Priest versus Johnny Gargano. So we're just going to go all over the place with these three matches. Jacob, when you saw those three matches, I think you predicted that the power couple was going to take the belts, and unfortunately they did not. Were you okay with that?
Yeah, because they're still building that storyline. So I'm okay with it. I like a heel Johnny. I like a heel Candace. So I was good with it. How about you? What were your? Because you predicted that that if Johnny went first and lost, Candace wasn't going to win. That was your prediction, if I remember correctly.
Yep. Yeah, because I felt like they couldn't complete the storyline if one person wins and the other person didn't. So, like you said, they have a long time to build for this. They could build for this until like the takeover before the Rumble or WrestleMania, but I do think sooner or later both of them will have the belts.
So what did you think of I'll just go ahead and say it. The Johnny and Damian Priest match and the Candice and Io match were absolutely nothing compared to the Finn match. So quick summary. Did you dislike, or were just okay with the Candice match and the Johnny match?
I was okay with both of them. I don't think they were anything too spectacular. I felt like they were saving themselves maybe for stuff down later on in the storyline, but they were okay. I mean, they weren't the barn burner as the Finn Kyle O'Reilly match.
I agree with you 100% on that. Those matches, they were just matches, and they're building, which is fine. That Finn match was nuts. That was so freaking good.
Yeah, I think if you show that match to anyone who's just trying to get back into wrestling or trying to start wrestling, like, oh, what match should I start? I think that's a good starting point, because a lot of people who don't really follow wrestling, they knew about the Undisputed Era, but they didn't know how good Kyle O'Reilly is on his own. So I felt like this match really showed how good he is by himself. What do you think?
Oh, I think you nailed it on the head. I think people who are not, who have followed like Kyle's career and whatnot, seen this and realize how good of a singles wrestler he really is. Now, the one thing I loved about this match, it reminded me of old school wrestling. Mm-hmm. It was such a heavy hitting, and Finn comes out, he's the face. Yep. And then in the middle of that match, Kyle was selling so good, you started to feel for him, and then you started, for me, I started rooting for Kyle O'Reilly in the middle of that match. I'm just like, let's go, Kyle, because he was just killing it, and they sold it. But Finn ended up with a broken jaw at the end of it. Mm-hmm. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. Has NXT not really addressed this at all?
I don't even, as NXT is going on right now, the time of recording, I don't think Finn's been on recently for NXT. I know he posted the pictures, and WWE shared the pictures of him having a broken jaw. I know back when the jaw happened, they were starting to have some rumors on wrestling sites that Finn was going to relinquish the title. And I know me and you both squashed that, saying there's no way they're going to have another champ relinquish the title off of just a broken jaw. They'll have him have it until he comes back. But No, not to my knowledge of that big a deal, but they did acknowledge it a little bit.
Dude, poor Finn. Every time he wins the title, it's always something. It's kind of like the Madden curse.
Yeah.
Where every time he wins, something bad is about to happen. And I feel so bad for him because I feel like anytime he gets that title, he never is able to get a really good run with it, except for his first NXT title run. But anything after that, since he won the Universal Championship, it's all been downhill since.
Yeah.
But I love that match. That match was just so good, so heavy hitting, great selling on both ends. Oh, I loved it. It was amazing.
Yeah, I really did too. The only thing I guess I didn't like was the end and whoever that, I forget his name, who threw Adam Cole, beat him up. I didn't think that was needed to be the
Yeah, the Ridge Holloway.
Yeah.
And then he got injured.
Yep.
So they can't even continue with that storyline. And hey, by the way, we're just going to get this out of the way 100% right now. I was wrong. My bold prediction that I make every podcast of the Undisputed Era breaking up, I have no idea if it's even going to happen now. And I'm not dying on that hill no more. We've heard the end of it, and that's done.
Oh yeah, but there's still time. There's still time for that to happen, though.
Oh, there's still time, but I have no idea how they're going to work it now. I have not the slightest idea. My thought was Adam was going to screw it up for Kyle O'Reilly, and that was going to be the end of it, pretty much. And that was, that didn't happen. I was shocked because after Finn won, me and Hannah were watching it, and I was like, well, what's going to happen? What's going to happen? And I'm like, oh, Adam's knocked out by whoever the hell this guy is. Who are you and why do I care? Type of deal. And I was like, well, this is not what I predicted. And that's that. Because I was hoping it was going to end and I was going to text you like, we're doing an emergency podcast right now just so I can come on and say, hey, I called it. We called it here first. And that was not the case.
Right. I don't understand what that was. And now they can't even do it. But it is what it is. We'll just have to wait and see on that. Great match. Both were great combatants. Would really like to see a round two, to be honest. I personally, after seeing that first match, I could do a trilogy of those two going at it.
Ooh, absolutely. 100%.
Another thing that they showed on this takeover, which to everyone's surprise, is Halloween Havoc coming back.
Yes.
For NXT. I was shocked. I didn't see that coming. Don't know what matches they're going to put on, but how excited are you on a scale of 1 to 10 for Halloween Havoc coming back?
Oh, I'm a solid 9. I loved Halloween Havoc when I was a kid. I think I even said on like one podcast I had like the VHS of Halloween Havoc that I watch constantly. I'm so excited. And then they're bringing back Spin the Wheel, Make a Deal.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, so happy. It's awesome. Like if they just bring back Bash at the Beach, and do it in poolside, I'd be even happier. But I will certainly take this. I'm stoked.
Yeah, and Halloween's one of my favorite holidays. So to have Halloween Havoc back, hopefully they really decorate it all good. I'm pretty sure WWE will. So I'm very excited for it to come back. I'm more intrigued on what the main matches are going to be because you can't bring this type of pay-per-view back and the matches suck. But I think they'll deliver because I remember with War Games, when War Games came, and that was probably one of my favorite pay-per-views of that year. So I'm excited. Definitely more excited for that than Hell in a Cell.
Yeah, that anytime, any NXT pay-per-view, I'm way more excited for than any main roster pay-per-view.
Right. But speaking of the main roster, just recently the WWE Draft happened. It spanned 2 nights, and then it led to the season premieres of SmackDown and Raw. And Jacob, obviously no one at HQ listened to our podcast because the biggest thing that we asked for, since they are supposed to be a third brand, is NXT was not involved at all in the draft. And I was really actually disappointed in that because, as you said on the last podcast, that they want everyone to see NXT is not as developmental as a real third brand. They should have been in the draft, and they were not. Were you surprised, or did you figure they weren't going to be in it?
Part of me, like, part of me was surprised, but the other part of me was like, nah, this is WWE. If it makes sense, hey, we ain't doing it. So I'm like, oh, of course they didn't. Why would they? Why would they make sense of this?
Mm-hmm.
Even if they did, like, after the SmackDown and Raw pay-per-view, the people who didn't get drafted, if NXT like had their draft and said like, hey, we'll take so and so who didn't get drafted at all, that would even been something. But instead we get nothing from NXT during the draft, and it makes no sense.
Yeah, I was actually really kind of pretty mad. I was actually pretty mad about it, but it's like, what can you do? So the first 5 picks from each side, Raw's first pick obviously was Drew McIntyre, then Asuka. Number 3 was Hurt Business, then AJ Styles, and no, it was Drew, Asuka, Hurt Business. Then SmackDown took Roman, Seth, Sasha, Bianca Belair. Yeah, and then Raw took Naomi, Nia Jax, Shayna Baszler, etc. So seeing, obviously, the top picks weren't really that surprising. I was surprised that Hurt Business was up there, to be honest, in the first round. But seeing these picks, who do you think, A, can prosper off the switches? And then B, who do you think this draft hurts?
Okay, so I'm going to start off with who do I think this draft hurt.
Okay.
So when Seth went to SmackDown.
Yes.
Okay. Yes. I was like, all right, sweet, awesome. I was very excited to see him go to SmackDown because he can kill it over there. Mm-hmm. And what I was more excited for was the idea of Rey Mysterio and Dominic Mysterio and the world's most god-awful storyline of the year. I thought it would end. Yeah. And then, of course, SmackDown does the one thing nobody wants them to do. They draft Rey Mysterio and Dominic Mysterio as a tag team, which I don't understand, but okay, whatever. Are you kidding me? Because you know this storyline is going to continue. My God. Mm-hmm. Oh, I was so pissed off when I seen that. I was like, oh, like, it's bad enough they didn't have NXT, but then they did the one move I did not want them to do. That sucked. But the biggest surprise of all, they broke up the New Day.
Yes.
What were they thinking? Because I don't understand it.
I think it was interesting in the fact that they first Xavier and Kofi came back from injuries on that night, and then they won the titles again, which is cool. I don't understand why they won, but they won. And then they split them up after the win. So I don't know if this is really signaling like, hey, we want Big E to really be serious about this singles push. Like, we have big things in store for him. So we can't have the New Day on the show. So we're going to split them up and have New Day here, then Big E there. That's the only thing I can possibly think of.
Yeah. I imagine Big E's going to get a good push. I am happy about that, but I'm not happy with them breaking up the New Day like that, because he hasn't gotten new entrance music or anything. No, correct?
No.
I mean, is he still representing New Day, or is it just Big E?
I think he's still representing New Day. As of Monday, he was watching New Day from wherever he was watching, so I still think he's representing New Day.
I'm trying to think what other ones that kind of shocked me. They allegedly split up Otis and Tucker of Heavy Machinery, but we have El Guardo or whatever he's straight up Hulk Hoganing wearing a face mask as. So, I don't know what's going on there. A lot of it's confusing. The people I feel like they should have split up and ended storylines, they just basically drafted storylines. It felt like they didn't even draft people. They drafted storylines.
Yeah.
Because Aleister Black and Kevin Owens are on SmackDown. They didn't split that up. I'm whatever on that feud. I just don't care. And like me and you both hate the Seth Rollins Mysterio family feud, and that's still happening. So
Yeah, and I'm looking even at the full draft. There's people went as tag teams. Cesaro and Nakamura went as a tag team. Dolph Ziggler and Rude went as a tag team. The Riot Squad went as a tag team. So they split up. Street Profits, obviously. So they split them up. But yeah, I agree. The biggest one was Ray and Seth. When Seth went to SmackDown, I was ecstatic. I thought the feud was over. I thought someone had some common sense at HQ and listened to our podcast. Obviously, they did not because they took Ray and Dominic. I would have been okay if they split up Ray and Dominic, to be honest, but they did not. I think from looking at this initially, the biggest person who can get a boost from the draft is Bianca Belair. I think the reason being now that she's on SmackDown and looking at the SmackDown women, which I don't know what they were doing, there's really no one outside of Bayley and Sasha. Like Natalya, come on. She's not even a threat anymore to win the title anymore. Let's just stop that. Carmella, she's not good. So when I'm looking at the women who got drafted, Bianca's in a great place to potentially be a number one contender after Bayley Sasha's feud's done.
yeah, I'd be very okay with that. I'm a big fan of Bianca Belair.
Yeah.
Like her in-ring ability, her mic work, it's so good. And it'd be nice to see something different than the Bayley Sasha Becky Charlotte show. Yeah, I'd be happy to see something different. So yeah, I hope she gets a big push.
Yeah, just from looking at the people drafted, I feel like she'd be up. And then something that was interesting to me is that the people who didn't get drafted, who got like Andrade, who was a top 5 pick the last draft, but was not drafted this time. Or Jimmy Uso, his brother got drafted, but Jimmy didn't get drafted. Jinder Mahal didn't get drafted. Mojo Rawley, Samoa Joe, Bo Dallas. And then you have like the part-timers like Big Show, obviously Big Show, Cena, Goldberg, Ronda Rousey, Undertaker, but they wouldn't draft them. But one that surprised me that didn't was Becky Lynch, because obviously she's about to have a kid, actually, any of these next couple months. So I didn't think she would be officially drafted. They'll keep it as a big surprise. But Charlotte got drafted. And I was actually shocked because I'm like, oh, shoot, Charlotte got drafted, which means she's coming back soon. Did you take anything away from them just not telling us what show Becky's going to be on?
I honestly, like, I wasn't shocked that she didn't get drafted. I imagine she's going to be off TV for at least another year.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, she's got the money, and she was so hot, at her peak, that I think it's a great idea. Keep her off TV. Don't even mention her. Just leave it the way it is, because when she comes back, she's just going to get the biggest pop ever.
Yeah.
She'll come out, surprise, and it'll be a white hot pop. So it didn't shock me. I'm okay with it. Let her be. Let her fade, because when she comes back, she'll be hotter than ever.
Yeah. Also want to go back into that women's side of SmackDown. Besides Sasha and Bayley and Bianca, and I already said Carmella and Natalya, Billie Kay, Tamina, Selena Vega, and the Riot Squad are the other women on SmackDown. That's not appealing. I don't understand. They could have had NXT, and right now, because she's barely not doing anything anyway, this would have been the perfect opportunity to promote Rhea to the main roster and put her on SmackDown.
Yeah. I never even thought about that.
Because I want to read you the Raw women compared. They have Asuka, Charlotte, Alexa Bliss, those 3 alone. And then Naomi, Lacey Evans, Nikki Cross, Peyton Royce, and my best friend Lana. And also Shayna Baszler and Nia Jax. And Mandy Rose and Dana Brooke. Just compare those women to the SmackDown women. Rhea really done.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, at least with Raws, you have like the women. If you take out the top three of Asuka, Charlotte, Alexa, you have Lacey Evans, you have Nikki Cross, you have Peyton Royce, and you have Naomi. Those are all super, super solid mid-carders that you throw a rocket strap on them, you can shoot them up to top talent.
Yep.
I think you just have to give them the right push, and you could absolutely do that. With SmackDown, what are you going to do? Are you going to rocket strap Tamina?
No.
And send her to the strap? Absolutely not. No one cares about Tamina. Zelina Vega, I mean, she's always been a manager.
Yep.
So it's kind of hard to get behind someone who was a manager who's now a wrestler. I mean, I know she can wrestle, but I liked her better as a manager.
And also, Carmella hasn't been relevant since the James saga and her being Money in the Bank, just to be honest. Like, she hasn't been relevant since then. Billie Kay, I don't even know if she could perform as a singles wrestler. I've never seen it. So I feel like they really screwed the women there, and it's going to be the Sasha Bayley show. But hopefully Bianca can take over. And just on the other things of now with Mandy and Dana Brooke as a tag team on Raw, there's a very interesting point that someone made about Mandy, and I want to tell you it. That Mandy Rose, outside of the four horsewomen and Asuka, she's been the most relevant woman in WWE without competing for a championship. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah. I mean, you're completely right. I really never thought of it that way, but yeah, I mean, listen, her stuff she did with Otis was the most entertaining. I know a lot of people hated it. I thought it was hilarious and I loved it. I loved every second of it and I wanted more of it. But yeah, you're completely right. She has been the most relevant one.
Yeah, with no one-on-one title things, no tag team like main event title things. Her storyline with Otis, and then that real character development between her and Sonya Deville, and she's been the most relevant woman outside of the four, Asuka. Which is wild, because back in the day, if you have no title, if you're not fighting for a title, you don't matter. And she's been able to really keep herself in the loop, and maybe one day she'll get rewarded for a title. So just looking at rosters, just on a glare, who do you think won it, SmackDown or Raw?
Oh, Raw.
Okay.
Yeah, I would say Raw. How about you?
Overall, Raw.
Oh, and real quick before we move on here, since we were talking all about the women, and I'm like ashamed of myself because I forgot to even mention this. Back to NXT, Ember Moon is back.
Yes, she is. Yes.
Oh, to me, that was the second highlight of the night. Because at first, when they had that package of someone riding in on a motorcycle, I was like, this is dumb. Who the hell is this? I don't care. And then when she came out and took the helmet off and it was Ember Moon, I jumped. I literally jumped out of my seat and just started cheering. I was so freaking happy. Ember Moon is back. In NXT.
I personally didn't even think she was going to wrestle again because it's been a minute since her injury. So seeing her come back was really, really cool. Also, even before that, Toni Storm's back too. So that's more power for the women's division for Io Shirai to go against. And that's when I saw Ember and Toni come back. I'm like, okay, Rhea's not getting a title shot anytime soon. Send her to the main roster. Let's get it going.
Yep.
They wanted to. We're just going to have to wait and see on that. Next up. Okay. Last time we said we were going to, they need to shut down Retribution with Mustafa Ali as their leader. And now revealed who we've been saying for almost, I feel like decades, was the hacker. Now it's revealed he's the hacker. So they just brought that back. Oh, well, yeah, I was the hacker the whole time. Blah, blah, blah. Can this be saved?
Well, It's funny because like we said, they're like, oh, like they if they're not going to end it, they have to put someone big on retribution to be the leader, and then you got Mustafa Ali, and I'm like, what? Okay, like, why do I care? And I know we're going to talk about Lana later, but I'm just going to bring up a point right now. None of the stuff with Mustafa Ali and or Lana makes 0 sense.
No.
Because these two caused the biggest ripple of the WWE third-party stuff. Mm-hmm. Because Mr. Savior Balls is now Mr. Savior Retribution.
Mm-hmm.
And I still don't think this is going to save Retribution. I just don't. Once again, I still don't care. You didn't put anyone big. You just took someone who was essentially irrelevant and said, like, I'm now the leader of Retribution. I was the hacker. Like, once again, who are you and why do I care? I don't. I still don't care.
Yeah, I think it was awful. I don't think it is. I know it's awful. Yes, as of Monday when they were in the ring with Bray Wyatt, I mean, The Fiend and Alexa Bliss, and then seconds later they get housed by The Fiend. I'm like, what is this? So you're getting housed by the Hurt Business and housed by The Fiend? Like, who are you guys taking out? Me personally, I think if they wanted to make Retribution bigger, since Mr. Rollins is looking for disciples, he should have been the leader of Retribution. He could have.
That would have been something.
He could have played them like, these are my new disciples, and he could have disciples like Retribution. I feel like that would have been more impactful than Mustafa Ali. No offense to him, he's a good worker, but what casual fan is going to care that Retribution is being led by Mustafa Ali? I'll answer that for you guys. No one.
Safe bet.
And if they're going to keep it going for a while, so it's whatever. I don't.
All right, here's a question. What dies first? The Retribution storyline or the Rey Mysterio and Seth Rollins storyline?
Rey and Seth. The reason I'm saying that is because Seth is bigger than Mustafa. And sooner or later, Seth Rollins is going to be a number 1 contender to Roman's title. So that when that time comes, that feud's over. Retribution, they could keep it forever and put him at the 9 p.m. slot while everyone's going to get a bathroom break and nobody cares.
Yep.
And this one is next thing. WWE house shows. So article came out that the house shows is going to be altered for a bit, and they're not going to have house shows until what, Jacob? 2023? Is that what they were saying?
I thought it was 2022. I will double check here.
Well, while Jacob's double checking that, yeah, house shows are going to be postponed for a bit. And when we talked about this before we did this episode, this is a pretty impactful thing for the wrestlers who don't make a lot of money main roster wise. Because a lot of these wrestlers, when they go on the circuits, like the Friday house shows or the Saturday or the Sundays pay-per-views, they make a lot of money off those ticket gates. So with not having the house shows, I'm concerned about mid-card guys not making ends meet. Jacob, what about you?
Okay, so the average, from what I've read, the average WWE superstar makes $500,000 a year.
Yes.
It's hard for me to be like I understand it sucks. You're losing money. To be fair, I think everyone's losing money right now with all this COVID crap. But you got $500,000. Manage your money right, and you're going to be just fine. The biggest thing for me, and it's just completely selfish on my end, and it is what it is, I think it sucks because I love house shows. Mm-hmm. House shows are some of my favorite events I've been to. Now, I know I asked you, and I forget what your answer was. Have you been to house shows?
No, I actually have not been to a house show. They don't really come out that much in Columbus. They mostly come for like Raws and Smackdowns and pay-per-views, but house shows really don't. I don't get to experience them.
Okay, yeah. So, like, obviously, I live in a more rural area, and they have house shows like up in Canton, and like normally a couple times a year, or up by Youngstown. I know the last house show I went to was an NXT house show up in Youngstown, and it was awesome. It was super cool. Actually, we seen Ivar. Is it Ivar, the out of the War Raiders or Viking Raiders, or my God, whatever the hell they're called now. The smaller one, the one that's not injured. His family was there. Candace's family was, or not Candace, Johnny Gargano's family was there. Like we're looking across the ring, and I'm like, oh wait, that's their family. Like, oh wait, that's their family. Like, oh, that's actually super cool. I love house shows. It sucks that they're going away for that long. The first show I took my now wife to was a house show, and it was so much fun because wrestlers just do whatever basically the hell they want.
Yes,
like they're cutting creative promos because it's just practice for them.
Yeah,
I remember seeing Kevin Owens live in a very small arena in Canton, Ohio, and it was the coolest thing ever because he was just talking so much smack and so much trash on the mic, and I was like, you know, a lot of like families go to it because it's super cheap to go unless you get like front row, which it costs an arm and a leg to sit front row at a live show, which makes no sense, but
yeah,
I digress. It's the entire arena is like booing Kevin Owens. I'm like the one guy who's like cheering for him, and I'm like, this is just wonderful. Loved it. But I'm super sad to see him go for now. But they'll come back, just like everything else. It'll eventually come back.
Yeah.
What's your take, buddy?
I think with the house shows too, you really hit the nail on the head on. They don't have to worry about the TV aspect of the house shows. It's not being broadcasted to millions of people. You don't have that crazy TV production. They get to go out there, cut loose, and really put a show on for the people there. And when I see like news on house shows and stuff, like when special things happen, like when he was around the main roster a lot more back in the 2014, 2015 time, when The Rock would show up at random house shows, or when someone like John Cena would show up at random house shows, or Undertaker, and then you get that email saying or whatever, like, oh, John Cena showed up at house show randomly in Chicago. And it's just like, those are the cool moments that I think those fans who go to house shows like yourself deserve. They're more creative there. You're not getting fed a piece of paper saying, say this, 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 and this. You're going out there doing house shows. And a lot of people don't realize that main event matches that we see on TV, let's say like a Braun Strowman versus Roman Reigns that happened at the SmackDown premiere, that happened like, those things happen like 6 straight weeks on a house show that you just don't hear about. Or like the WWE title gets defended on a house show, and you just don't hear about it if you don't pay attention to it. So I think it's a great thing for the fans. I can't wait for them to come back in a couple years. Sucks that they're gone, but like you said, it's just what we have to deal with during the COVID era. But they'll be back. They will be. Vince isn't going to let that type of money just disappear and not try and get it back.
Oh, absolutely not. He's as soon as he gets the go ahead, he's doing it.
Oh, absolutely. So let's cross it over. Let's hit some. Let's go over to Japan.
Yes.
New Japan G1, the climax. So Koto, is it Ibushi? How do you say his last name?
It's Kota Ibushi.
Ibushi. He won for the second year in a row.
Yes.
So Jacob, let's talk about it. This is not who you wanted to win this thing initially on our previous podcast, correct?
No, because I'm a complete mark and I love anything Bullet Club. So I wanted Jay White to win. Mm-hmm. And the day where it's pretty much getting decided, I was blowing up your phone being like, all right, so if Jay wins his match, he's winning it all. If Jay loses a match, he needs Okada and he needs Ibushi to lose. But if Okada and Jay lose, then Ibushi wins, but he also has to win his match. Like, there's just so much crazy stuff going on. It's the playoffs. It's awesome.
That's what's great about it. That is what we talked about last time. It's so great that all those situations needed to happen for your favorite thing to happen, and you're there planning in your head, okay, this person has this many points. That's what's great about it, and that's what the Americans really need to adopt.
Yes. Yes. You nailed on the head on the last podcast. They need to do it after WrestleMania and get your number one contender for SummerSlam. Have just like, they need to make it like a 2-month event or something like that.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. But
so, yeah, a lot of crazy things happened. Mm-hmm. Lots of crazy things are happening in Japan right now. So, like we said, Kota Ibushi is now your number one contender for the IWGP Heavyweight Championship and the Intercontinental Championship, with both Naito holds, who's part of Los Ingobernables. And let's see, what else crazy happened? So, did you see Will Ospreay?
Yep, I'm looking at it right now. Will Ospreay
Will Ospreay just started his own faction called Empire in New Japan. He turned on Okada, which was that was next to Ibushi winning. That was the biggest thing, because it was like, oh shit, it's going down, and I love it. I love it. I love the heels. So give me all the heels, and I'm a happy camper. And I'm just getting all the heels right now. Minus Ibushi, he's a face, but he's such a stiff worker. Him and Naito are going to just obliterate each other at Wrestle Kingdom. It's going to be beautiful.
When you think about New Japan and their style over there, I feel they obviously take it a lot. I feel like they take it a lot more seriously than we do in the United States. And I'm not saying like the top people. I'm saying everyone on the card wants to be good in Japan. But it's not, I don't feel like it's the same way here in WWE. Do you agree? Am I being too harsh?
No, I agree 100%. It's not sports entertainment over there.
Yes.
To them, hey, this is almost shoot fighting.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And like, for the people who do not seek out New Japan, but hey, you watch all the American stuff, if you loved or even genuinely just enjoyed the Finn Balor Kyle O'Reilly match from NXT, go watch New Japan, because it is a very stiff, very hard-hitting style of fighting. It's amazing. It's good stuff.
Right. Yeah, it's really hard-hitting. And then someone, Mr. High Flying Will, going heel and making his own faction on Okada. It's good stuff. I wish there was a way, hopefully now with the partnership that I think Cody talked about, the relationship with AEW and Japan, that if we can get some Japan on TV in the States, I think that will do Japan wonders with the casual wrestling fan. Even things like Ring of Honor on at like 11 p.m., 1 a.m. on Fox. So just getting it on TV, I think, could do real wonders for Japan, so that people can actually see what we're talking about.
Oh, well, now, New Japan, if I remember correctly, they were trying to get, I think they are still doing it. They're trying to get like an American side of New Japan going. The problem is it's all of their young lions. Now, for those who do not know, the young lions are the developmental. You start off in a dojo and you work your way up to main roster, essentially. So like their American side was a lot of the young lions, and they couldn't get the Japanese, like the big names, the Okadas, the Tanahashis, the Naitos, Evil, Jay White, God, all the guys. They couldn't get those guys over here to help out with that. So it's going to come around for sure, because there's money to be made and someone will get that going.
Right. And hopefully it's sooner rather than later, because I would really love to be able to just record or catch a episode of New Japan on my TV instead of scouring the internets and YouTube and reading Instagram posts on things that happened. Because Wrestle Kingdom, if people who don't know, it's their WrestleMania, and it's a big, big spectacle. So I feel like if more casual wrestling fans saw that, then they'd be like, "Oh, they really do it over there in Japan."
Oh, it's if you just want something different, if you want something different than AEW, if you want something different than WWE or Ring of Honor, TNA, whatever you watch, just YouTube it. Just YouTube New Japan Pro Wrestling highlights. You won't be disappointed. You won't understand what they're saying if it's the Japanese guys. If it's the American guys, they cuss like crazy. But it's wonderful to watch.
Do they not put subtitles for the fans, Jacob?
They do. Well, you have to like get them. Like when you order it, you can get it in English. Honestly, I think it's hilarious just listen to the American guys over there because, like I said, all they do is cuss. I mean, there's no filter. It's hilarious.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that is funny. But speaking of no filter and things that kind of are hilarious, they're not, but it's hilarious. Well, we're going to talk about it. Is the PWI Women's Top 100? It was the top 100 that came out just recently. And on the cover was Bayley and Sasha Banks. And it goes, for people who don't know, it goes from October 2019 to October 2020. The criteria for this is titles won, quality of opposition, wins, losses, overall activity, and the push received by the promotion or promotions they work. So number one was Bayley, which no surprise there. She's been champion for over a year now. And she's been killing it as a heel. Number two was the man, Becky Lynch. Obviously, we know the run that Becky had. She probably would have been number one if she didn't have to go because of her pregnancy. Number three was the Empress, Asuka. Money in the Bank winner, won the title, has been defending the title. Number four, Queen, Charlotte Flair, won the Rumble, won the NXT title, went to Raw, was killing it there, was champ till she had to go because of injury. Then number five was Sasha Banks. Obviously, her and Bayley dominated as a tag team. They were beating everybody. She was in the spotlight. Now she is feuding with Bayley. So when I said funny thing, I read that top five to you guys. And this isn't just WWE. This has every woman on planet Earth in wrestling. And as we've talked about on here, 4 out of the top 5 top-ranked women on planet Earth are in the 4 horsewomen group. And the other one is Asuka. And I've repeatedly said the only woman who could stand up to the 4 horsewomen in WWE is Asuka. Jacob, when I read that top 5 and 4 out of the 5 are horsewomen, what goes through your mind about the rest of the women's roster in WWE?
I'm not shocked. It's those 4 have been pushed for ever now, since at least 5 years now, if you include all the NXT stuff they've done.
The first 3 out of the 4 debuted on the main roster in 2015, and Bayley was the one left behind because she was NXT champ at the time. So just think of it like that. It's 2020, and one of them, Charlotte Flair, is a 10-time champ, 12 if you count NXT titles. So she's won 12 titles in 5 years. Just do that math.
Yeah. I wish WWE would do something different. I think that's why me and you were so excited about Bianca Belair coming to Raw, or SmackDown. I mean, it's such a blah feeling. It's just like, oh yeah, of course they're the top ones. Okay, not shocked. It is what it is, because they're the only ones in the limelight. 99% of the time, it's just them or it's Asuka. And that's why everybody likes Asuka so much. Because oh wait, it's not one of the 4 horsewomen. Awesome. And it's whatever. I'm not. I just don't care.
Yeah. I would say I don't even think in defense of them because they know they don't need a defense. Their resumes speak for themselves. But as lifelong wrestling fans as we have been, we do know if usually someone is getting pushed either because that's who they want to push, and the other side is that no one else is stepping up. So I don't know if the women in the back aren't stepping up. There are some women who, especially during main lockdowns of coronavirus, I'm looking at you, Lana, who were in TikToks galore and were rather posting TikToks while the four horsewomen were carrying the show. So when you're doing stuff like that, I can understand why they rely on those four because they're reliable, while the others want to be models on Instagram. And I just want to go over just a couple of other people who I thought were notable. Tessa Blanchard, she was number 7, which I expect her to be in the top 10. Io Shirai was number 9. Someone who should have been, I personally think, could have been in the top 5 if she just didn't fall off after she lost to Charlotte, was Rhea Ripley.
Mm-hmm.
She was at 11. Shayna was at 13. Someone who I think is really good and was near the Alexa Bliss is at 27. Bianca Belair was 23. You got girls like Nia Rose, 16. Kimberly, 15. Thunder Rosa, 14. Jordan Grace, 12. There's some real. Candice LeRae was at 34. Mia Yim's at 36. I wonder if she would fall down now because she's part of the trash retribution. But then you just got.
Hey, she can beat up Keith Lee.
Yeah, that's a problem. But then you have someone like Sonya Deville at 56. Thought she could have been higher. She did some great work on that stuff she did with Mandy. Yeah, but I'm not just going to go over. Face Obliterator, Nia Jax was at 69. Then the last person on the list was Max the Impaler at 100. And obviously, since one of their own all of them were in the top 5, of course, WWE was promoting it. Because, sometimes WWE doesn't promote PWI, even though I see PWI as the Sports Center officials of wrestling. But when it's their own, then they promote them all over. But if it's not, they act like PWI doesn't exist. So
I was happy to see Max the Impaler because when we had the PWI Top 500, I mentioned her.
Yes, you
did. I was very happy to see her as in the top 100.
Yeah.
And I was confused at first. Got to look it up. I was like, wait. How does this work? Because she's in both, and they should be separated between men and women the way they have it set up. Well, come to find out, it's also how they compete against men. Like, so if they're doing intergender wrestling, which she does, that's how she ended up on both. So I was happy to see that. Like, Ohio girl, but on both of them, like, hey, that's awesome. She's got a good future.
Right. Oh, and shout out to Big Swole, 39. Just shout, that's a name right there. Penelope Ford at 48. And Lacey Evans, 43. Toni Storm, 45. I don't know how Natalia's on the list, but that's just me. And of course, let me just make sure before we Liv Morgan, 84. And PWI, that's why I love them, because looking through that list, I did not see Lana. So you already know where we're going. Every podcast, it's almost religious now to have a Lana segment. Yeah. So Lana, ever since she destroyed everyone's side hustles, she on Raw has been getting put through a table every week for about 5 weeks going now. So on the 4th week, out of the blue, she got put through the table as per usual, but then won the number 1 contenders match to be the number 1 contender to Asuka. Anyone with a brain knows Lana wasn't going to win, and if she won, the world would riot. She tapped out quick, and then what happened? She got put through a table again. It's the new thing on Monday. She gets put through a table. I've been hard on Lana. I've been very critical of her wrestling ability. I've I've given her compliments. She is absolutely gorgeous, but her wrestling ability is terrible. Her mic skills are terrible. She's been involved in some of the worst things in wrestling. Not even the third party band. Like, think back to the terrible Bobby Lashley story that didn't fruition to anything when Rusev and Liv Morgan interrupted the wedding. She was a part of that. So, with her being the number one contender now and it's over, getting put through a table, do you think WWE is done punishing her for the third party ban? For Rusev going to AEW? Do you think they're done, or is she just going to be table girl from now on?
Well, I have a theory on why she became number one contender.
Okay.
And I have a theory on why Mustafa Ali is now going to get more TV time because he's running Retribution.
Okay.
Put on your tinfoil hats, everybody. Here's the hot take of the podcast.
Mm-hmm.
So, Lana and Mustafa Ali, Mr. Save Your Balls. It's my favorite name for him, by the way, now.
Good nickname.
They screwed up everybody's side hustle.
Yep.
Now WWE owns all the side hustle and gets cuts of all the side hustle.
Mm-hmm.
I think Vince is in the background going, like, they're making me money now. They messed up so bad that they are now making me money. Therefore, we're going to push them. So I think because Vince is such a money grubbing, just evil genius, I think he's like, screw it. Give her a number. She's the number one contender. Make it happen. Ollie, you're now running Retribution. Like, I think that's my take. I think he's like, you know what? I'm going to make more money now because of them. The people who never made me money are now making me money. Mm-hmm. Not on their wrestling ability, on their savior ball ability.
Yeah, because Mustafa's obviously a better wrestler than Lana. Don't get it twisted, guys. We're not saying they're the same wrestling. They just weren't making him money. Now, yeah, Mustafa's there leading in, and Lana just gets put through tables. I almost feel bad for her, but then I don't, because I wonder how many people in the locker room are mad at her. I know she tried to say on Twitter that it wasn't her fault, but usually when you say it's not your fault, it's your fault. So I have no problem. She keeps getting put through a table. She keeps getting put through a table. Hopefully she take less time on the snap and on TikTok. I know you guys out there love her TikToks and her snaps and her dances, but she needs to get some time in the ring and like really hone herself. Because and I'm going to be honest with everyone, if Lana was half the wrestler, say a Charlotte Flair is, Lana would she'd be champion for a year. Easily. She already has the look. She has the following. If she gets half good wrestling abilities, she's going to be champion for at least a year. Look at Carmella. Carmella's not that much better than Lana. She's just a little bit better. And Carmella's been multiple time champ, Money in the Bank. She was headlining pay-per-views. So Lana can actually get better. She could be better than Carmella, and Carmella was a 2-time champ. But I don't know. She's too busy doing her own things. But she's on my list of bad things with WWE. I mean, she is. You have anything else you want to say about Miss Lana?
Oh, I hope she keeps it up. This is like always my favorite part of the podcast is hearing you talk about Lana. I love it. So I say she needs to keep it up. Like all the Bang energy drinks, all the screw ups, all the tables, make it happen because it's so enjoyable. As much as you hate her or dislike her.
Oh yeah, I'm just not.
I love hearing you talk shit about her.
She's not a friend of mine, and if she ever heard it and wanted to correct me, she is happy to tweet me, come on the podcast at any time. But listen, your most memorable thing in recent memory was you getting beat up at the Rumble so that Becky Lynch can take your place and win the Rumble that year. So if they thought you were the worst woman that they could just take out, no one would care, while you're wearing your Captain Marvel uniform, and Becky took your spot. She's just not good. And she can be good. But again, remember, she's very attractive. So she has that going for her. And she can dance. So that is going for her. But just get some wrestling skill. She'll be champ. Vince loves, she has the perfect look. Blonde, beautiful, perfect assets. That is Vince's wheelhouse.
I mean, you're nailing it on the head. If she was half good, she would be champion.
Oh, yeah. And there's nothing we could do about it because we've seen it before. But it is what it is. Last thing before we sign out. There was a wedding that allegedly happened. This wedding was allegedly John Cena's wedding. I keep saying allegedly because he has not confirmed this wedding, but all the outlets have confirmed this wedding. So apparently John Cena got married, guys. He got married to his girlfriend who he was dating after the big public breakup of Nikki Bella, which, if everyone remembers, WrestleMania 34, by the way, where The Miz and Maurice should have beat John Cena and Nikki, and the only reason they won is because John was proposing to Nikki. That whole thing got wasted because they did not get married, and they went their separate ways. Nikki is getting married and had a boy, and John Cena got married to Miss Elizabeth. Nope, Elizabeth was his ex. I am so sorry. That would have been super bad. His wife, Shay. I was looking at like John Cena's wife. I was like, no, Elizabeth's the ex. No, Shay. I think he's an engineer. But yeah, that happened. Jacob, wait, I think you were the first to share to me, and I said, yeah, I gotta wait till I see it from him. What did you think about John Cena just randomly getting married out of the blue?
Good for him. From what I read, he did it on a Tuesday, which means one thing to me.
What's it?
One, it was private, and two, he did it on a weekday, so you know the venue was like half off. Smart man. Way to manage your money. Good job, buddy.
Mm-hmm. That is true. Weddings on weekdays, the prices are significantly different than weddings on weekends.
True statement.
But I mean, it's not like he's hurting for money. But yeah, I think it's true. Obviously, it's true. He's not going to be the person who just comes out and says it. But congratulations to him. Congratulations to his wife. Him and Nikki have both moved on. They're doing great in their separate lives. Hopefully, we see John Cena in the future, maybe going against someone like a Adam Cole or a Kyle O'Reilly and putting those guys over, because I mean that's what he does now, just puts people over. So yeah, that's really all I have on that. Jacob, anything else you wanted to hit on wrestling wise before we sign out? There's Hell in a Cell this weekend apparently. Jey Uso and Roman are in an I Quit match, so I feel bad for Jey Uso. He's dead. So is there anything you want to even touch on that, or is that even
Hell in a Cell? We know, like, you pay more attention to WWE than I do. I know there's a Roman match. What other matches are happening?
Yeah, Randy and Drew, and Randy's gonna put Drew over again. Sasha and Bailey, which really frustrated me. That should have been at WrestleMania. Those are really the three big matches. Everything else is really irrelevant.
Yeah, don't care. Like,
yeah.
I hate to be the guy who's always like, it's WWE, it sucks. Like, I don't want to be that guy, but damn, you got to give me something. If I want to watch someone get murdered, I guess I could watch the die.
I'm excited for it. I like Hell. The only reason, just because Hell Cell's close to like my birthday and it's Halloween and all that stuff, but Halloween Havoc's coming, so that's taking that spot. So Hell in a Cell's out. I'm more interested in next month, just because last year's Survivor Series was so great. If they do that again, I'll be hooked for November.
It's going to be like Hurt Business versus Retribution. Survivor Series.
Jesus. No. You heard it here first. Please don't let that happen, guys. Please don't.
You know what? I hope it happens just so I could hear you talk about it.
Oh my! Please don't.
Can we throw Lana in there, like on Team Hurt Business?
No, with her ex. Well, you know what? It's WWE.
Yeah,
They'll probably forget that's a storyline. Even though the leader of Hurt Business, MVP, called Lana a thought on TV, and I didn't even think you were allowed to say that on WWE television. I was like, wow.
Vince probably didn't know what it was.
And that's probably true too. Probably true.
What's a thought? Because it's a tater tot. The slang the kids are using nowadays.
I'm not. No, please God, no. I don't need her. If she gets my luck is she would be the last woman surviving in the 5-on-5 match. She would rub it in my face. But just give me Roman versus Drew at Survivor Series, and then we're talking, because even though Roman's probably going to win, we're going to really have to see how that match gets booked.
Yep, that would be good.
Give me that one, and then we can talk. But that's all I have, man. Anything else?
Nope. AEW is still good. They're having their tournament to see who's going to be the new number one contender. It's been good. That's about it.
Yeah, well, yeah, you heard the man. That's all we got. Thank you, everyone, for listening to L7C Podcast. I know you, from what we're seeing, you guys are really digging these wrestling episodes on our mom and pop pod chat. They are dominating our top 5. They're currently 3 out of 5 out of the top 5. They're second, third, and fourth. Obviously, you guys knew that Jacob had the number 1 episode for the longest time and was recently dethroned, and he is really trying to get that back. So give him a chance. Listen to all the previous wrestling episodes. Listen to this one. Listen to the other episodes on the channel. We really appreciate your support, and we love coming on here and talking wrestling with you guys every 2 weeks.
Yeah, get me the number 1. I'm sick. Was it Justin's number 1? Yeah, Justin. Yeah, I'm coming back for my title spot.
Justin said he's going to come on with us during WrestleMania season.
Oh, make it happen, Captain. I'd be okay. Like if we get number 1 with that, as long as my name's on the number 1 slot, I do not care.
I love it. That's how WWE needs to treat that's how the employees there need to be on, instead of being on TikTok and shaking it. Ain't that right, CJ Perry? But anyway, thank you everyone for listening to the L7C podcast. You guys take care.
Have a good one, guys.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the L7C podcast. Be sure to like, rate, review, and subscribe to the channel. Follow us on all social media platforms, and we'll be talking to you guys soon. Take care.